This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, last time we saw how to do a parallel approach and how to use the data source to drive your data. Now today we will see how to create a keyword driven framework, and for that, um, before I show you the keyword driven framework, uh, we need a centralized location from which we can read data. Now, uh, I will send you this URL, which will be helpful for you. There are four ways through which you can read the configuration file. This configuration file will be nothing but the configuration file to set up your OR object repository. So what I can do is you can put it in the chat section. Go through this. This is basically a configuration file to read your app.configuration file. If you look at your app.configuration file, this is present out here in your class, in your project, and this is called as app.config file. So you can basically use this app.config file to create an object repository, something like that. Now, if you look at this particular documentation, it tells you that the first thing that you need to do is uh, the concept of uh, four different ways to get the values from the configuration section. Uh, for this guy has created a simple console application and provide the name as config example. You can see this. The name of the reference is config example. So what I will do is that, and we need to add the system.configuration assembly reference to sm access configuration settings. So how do you get the assembly reference? Right click on your reference of your project and then add the system.configuration. You can see that. Just right click, click references and click on add references. Okay, then go to the search result and write down system.configuration out here. It will come up. Now you will see that this particular system.configuration, namespace gets added to your project, and then you can basically have the first approach where you have to set up, the key value pairs like this. Okay, and this is the first approach of doing it. And in order to basically have a second approach, you can have a configuration file as same. Okay, let's move to the next example. If we need to add the settings inside the section of a separate for the separation, in this, what you can do is that you can define it as application settings. Okay, and you can define it as application settings with the key value here. So I'll show you a couple of approaches out here with which you can write, you can actually create an object repository file. So I'll already send it to you. I'll send it to you. I'll show it to you right now. So what you need to do first of all is that I'll create in the same hybrid framework a new CS file. I'll call this as where is that? Add I'll just add a new console application CS file only. Probably I'll call this as object repository file. And then I'll basically take, I'm showing you the components of the framework separately, and then I'll show you by clubbing all these things together. Object repo, the object repository file. Okay, that gets created out here. You can see this object repo. It should be seen somewhere out here. Yeah. Okay, now what you need to do in your references, you need to go right click, add reference. So what you need to do for that, if you can go, you can probably go and search for system.configuration. This one. And add to it. So you will see that the system.configurations comes out here. Okay, and you have to add this out here. It's called as using system.configuration. That is what you need to do if you want to. Basically, this is specifically for your object repository, and you can make this class as a public class. Okay, and start creating it. Okay, based on this particular factor, for example, as it is defined out here, you have done everything, and what you need to do, the first approach is that uh, add some application level settings and access them based on their keys. We can add these settings either inside the web.config or applet.app.config. But we need to add app settings tab inside the configurations tab. This is the configurations tab. So you have to have something called as app settings. So we'll have to add this to app.config or web.config, whatever you get it. So I have it at web.config, right? App.config, sorry. If you look at this particular project, you have something called as app.config. Okay, you might have web.config also. So what you need to do, if you open up the app.config file, let me close all these things not required. Why to confuse? Okay, so if you open up this app.config file, you will see that the configurations tag is the startup tag. Okay, so what you require is, if you uh, if you want to add some application level settings, and you have to access them based on their keys. So add application based settings. I will put up this so that I can add a comment out there. Copy this, go to the app.config file. This is just for your reference so that you can understand it. You got to add something called as, I'll put a comment. Comment is done by colon double, and you can end it with a uh, so in between this you can write down, this becomes a comment. So what you are going to add is this: add some application level settings, access them based on their keys. Okay, and for setting up the application level settings, you have to use this particular tag called as the app setting tags. I'll copy this inside the configuration tag. Copy this and put it as a, again, as a comment. Enter, it will end with a double hyphen and cone. In between them you have to write down. So add app settings tag section inside the configuration settings. This is the configuration ending out here. So what you can do, at the label as your startup, you create app settings. It automatically comes. You can see that, right? And this is the end of it. Now inside this, you have to basically define the key and the value. The key and value is defined out here. You can see this: add key and add value. So you have to add the add keyword and then the key and whatever with the value. So I can go out here and show you. So if you click cone, you put, you can add. And what do you want to add? Somebody is calling. 1 minute. Hello. Okay. So you have to add the key. So you have to add the key, and followed by the key you need to add. It's coming by itself. You can see the value. Okay. So this key will be the key that you and this key should be unique. Remember, the key that you define. I'm putting is the comment. Key should be unique, and the value can be value of the key can be duplicate. Okay. Now this is basically created for you the purpose of your, this is an object repository. I'm writing like this. Okay. So what you want to do out here is that mm, you have to have a key, you have to have a nomenclature for the key, right? So how do you have the nomenclature of the key? Uh, so we need to have the nomenclature for the key. The nomenclature will be actually company to company based requirement. The company might give you the nomenclature of the key. But I will show you my nomenclature. Okay. So the nomenclature will be something like this. Nomenclature is something like this. You will have the uh, locator name. Okay. Underscore. So locator name. Locator name that you're using, underscore. You can have the action performed, action performed, and uh, then the element name. So locator name, whatever locator you're going to use, the action performed. It can be a click action, it can be a type action, it can be anything else. So action performed, and mm, then the element name. Element name will be, if it is a button, whether it is a radio button, whether it is a checkbox, or whatever it is, a link, or whatever it is. So this is the key nomenclature that I'll follow. And you have to give the value of the key. Uh, so how do you set up the key? For example, I set up the key as name. It should be a unique value, unique key. Keys cannot be duplicated. Key should be unique, and the value of the key can be duplicated. So key should be unique, and key should not be duplicated. The value of the key can be duplicated. Okay, so let's set up the key. Right now, I will not give the nomenclature. I'll show you first how it works. So this is the key, and then you have the value of it. Value set, let's say Kaushik. Okay, and the same way I can add the key. So the key value is, let's say, age, and the value automatically it comes. You can see that value is 45. So let's say I want to run this. So I have to save this first. So, and you can understand that the app settings has to end out here, and you should have forward slash for this. Forward slash means at the end of the add tag used. And now, in order to read this, what you need to do is you go to the object repo and you can use this particular method out here. You can see this. They have used just the particular title. Configuration manager is a class which has app settings as the property. You can give the value of a title. So you will get the value of this particular key, which is configuration example. And language also, you can get the language value. Console.writeLine, string.format, string classes format method is used. So at index number 0, configuration project is created, and this is index number 1. Yeah, as you wish to, you can give the console result. This is basically a string interpolation. Okay, so you have to convert these variables. Now if you look at, let me show you. So you have to use something called as configuration. Which comes from the configurations namespace system, the configuration manager dot, and you have to use this particular method out, the app settings, property. So app settings, and you have to give the, what is the key right now? Name, right? Maintain the uppercase and lowercase out here as it is. Oops. Okay, the return type, the name configuration does not exist in the current context. The name applicant does not exist in the current context. This is existing, right? There is one static class called the configuration manager, which has one getter property named application. This is a getter property. We can just pass the key and get the desired value. So you can just copy this. This is what you need to use. I don't know why it is showing you a problem. Static class with a getter property. The getter property called. Define the name. Return type of this is kept to a variable. It's a val1. So you can call this as a string variable. Okay. And in the simpler fashion, let's say I do a console.writeLine. You can get the value of the key, just pass on var1. So var1 will hold the value of the key called name. And one thing is that I have not used the public static void main method. So how will you get the result of it? The public static void main. So let's run this. I'll just debug it. Oops, I clicked on somewhere else. Why I'm getting the value of 30? Or is there some other files which has this has static reference? What else? This has main method. This doesn't have any main method. Oh, I didn't make this as a startup file. That's why. So let's start without debugging. These must begin with the uppercase character. Test data 1, test data hybrid framework. These are warnings. 1 minute. So what is the error list? Expected this and I will of the repository is the problem. Okay. So that has been already taken care of. There is a class level, this is the method level, this is the namespace level. So what it is speaking about? Build the solution at line number 18. Okay, okay. Okay, build the solution once more and I don't think there should be any problem. Yeah, succeeded. You can just go and debug it. You're getting the, okay, you're getting var1 only. Why? Oh, you have to call the, this is also bad, right? This is already a variable. Start the debugging. Okay, there's a problem. Yes, var1 out. You get the value as Kaushik, you can see that. Okay. In the simpler fashion, if you basically have to get the value of the age key out here, you want to get the value of, let's close this, the age key. What you need to do is you just have to copy this and paste it out here. We want 2 and this key will be in string format. It is age. You can just print out what to debug it. You got the age also. Okay. Now if you want to basically get all the values at one run, so you have to use the for each loop. So string var colon in. String var means var in this is and then you have to put it in an array, then only you can use it. You can give one by one right now, so that is why it is not using a for loop out here. Okay, the other second approach is that let's move to the second example. If we need to add setting inside the section for the separation, okay, if we need to add the settings inside the section for the separation, okay, the configurations is ending out here. You have to put the settings outside of the configurations. This configuration section it is. So if you have to put it inside the configuration, but app settings, you can see that, and this is coming up before the startup. So you have to define the configuration sections, app settings as the name, and that app setting is coming out here. You can see that. Okay, so let's move to the next example. If we need to add the settings inside the section for the separation, in this situation, we can create a custom section inside a configuration section in app.config.webconfig as shown below. This section can make your data more readable, understandable based on your section name. Okay, this is much more easy to understand what I is trying to say. So that means I can basically use this particular scenario also. So you can have in the configuration tag, you can have different settings. For example, let's understand. Let's not disturb this. I'll comment this because I want to use the main method. So I'll comment it. You cannot have more than one main method in a project. So what I will do, I'll create one more class. That will be let's have object repo2 class file. What did happen? Build the design. Huh? So I will have to add a new item. Object repository OR2, I'll call this as. Why it is showing like this? Copy and paste it better. It is important to show you all the behaviors because this might be also a possibility. This will be class follows object repo 2. Okay, and I have commented this, but this becomes okay, fine. So here what we can do is that in the app config, I'll use the app config here one. This is the one. This was one behavior, right? So I will copy this, write down this. This is, you can say that one approach to read the config file. I'll copy this, paste it out here again, and I will comment this. Let's do commenting like this. So I can comment from here. Yeah, this is the commenting part. This is the first approach. You can, if you remove these two, will be uncommented. Then you have to comment this line. So if you remove this, I'll show you. If you remove these two, then please comment this line. Okay, if you want to do the commenting of the full block, then remove the commenting from here and start commenting from here. Right. Now I can basically use this. So what I need to do is that you can remove it from here. Okay. Now you need to have difference. The second approach. Second approach of reading the configuration file. So second approach will be that you need to use this particular tag. You can see this, the config sections tag. You have to give the section name, whatever sections you want to have. Okay, and when it is useful to use the second approach. Okay, and you have to use the type as system configuration name value section handler. Okay, so we'll see out how to use it. I can actually copy it and show it to you. It will save my time also. So configurations, the second approach is that, let's say this is the second approach, configuration section, and for example you have a settings for your UAT, or let's say UAT settings. Okay, so and similarly you might have another, the UAT settings will have its own URL, its own username and password. Similarly, you might have settings for the system level settings. System level settings means the URL, username, password might be different. Okay, then what you can do is that you can just, I will show you out here to save my time also. You can use applications in tag that is defined out here. So with this, whatever name you have given, make a tag like this and start adding it. Copy. I'll paste it out here. So this will be your UAT settings. Copy this and paste it. Right? Okay. So now you have sections inside it. So UAT settings will have its own, let's say, URL, and the URL can be given as, for example, www dot, or let's say https colon double slash www.rediffmail.com. Remember, most of the time the UID settings are the real-time environments, and then you can have something called key as username, and give the username out here, let's say Kaushik, and then you can give the password out here. So you can write down test there 1 2 3 4. Okay, and then you can have the settings for the system settings. So what you can do, you can create, this will be for your system settings. So create a section for your system settings. The settings for system will be different. The URL will be also different. So you can have this followed by, let's say, it is system setting is always done at the internal level. So you can give an IP address 161.21.32.23, something of that sort. And this will be username will be changed. If you remember, if you see that the key name are same. I'm not duplicating out here. It is based on the section. That is why I've created a configuration for the section. If you are creating configuration for the section, then the key values are same. Remember one particular thing, the keys that you are giving should be defined out here also. Same keys. There's a reason for that. And here it can be test.rn, and here it can be a password like a 5678, and do like this, and this has to be done. This is another configuration settings as defined out here. You can see this startup, and then the configuration tag is ending out here. This is second approach. In the second approach, there's certain things they want to say. Used when we have different settings for the for the testing environment that we have for different testing environment. And also we can define the object repository also out here. So for having an object repository, what I can do is that I will create another section, and this I'll call this as OR as the key, and the value and the type is something of that sort. With the OR, you need to have the OR tag, and you can use the add the key value pairs out here. The same key value pairs I can add it out. Okay, and I can save this. And how to read it out? For reading this, what you can do is I can go to OR2, and to access the section settings, custom section, this is the custom section settings. Okay, this part is your custom system settings. Where is that? Not this app.config. These are custom system settings. Custom settings. Okay, Now in order to run this, we first need to find out the section using the get section method. So I'll write it down, which is defined inside the configuration manager class, and cast the return as a name value collection. It will return all the values inside it, all the keys available inside the custom section, and based on the keys we can get the values easily. So I'll just add this out. So you can see that this is a custom section for UAT environment, for example. And this is a custom section for and this is a custom section for where all object with their values are kept. And then I can write down out here whatever I've copied. So to access custom section settings, we first need to find out the section using the get section method, which is defined inside the configuration manager class only, and cast the return. You have to typecast the return value as name value collection. Okay, it will return all the keys available inside this custom section, and based on the keys we can get the values easily as shown below. So I'll show you how to use it. As shown in shown is, what is the object repo 2.cs file for your reference. So So first thing is that it is using the configuration manager.get section. And which section do you want to get? Application settings section. This section. As and typecast it to a name value collection. Return type should be cast as a, it is saying, and cast the return value as a name value collection. It will return all the keys available inside the custom section. Okay. And based on the keys we can get. Now it is saying that if applications, if the count is equal to 0, if there's no count of the key value pairs, applications are not defined. Then it has the count, it has key value pairs, then else block will be executed. For each var key in application.all keys, you can use this particular method. So I'll show you this. This is the method of the configuration manager to get all the keys. And each time it will run, so how many keys it will count? If we have 4 keys in this particular section, okay, then 4 times the for each loop will run. Each time it runs, it will give the value of the key. The same thing I'm going to use. The only thing is that I have to change something. Let me copy this and then change it. So this is var. So there is a section called as name value. The type of namespace name value collection could not be found. Are you missing a directive or the assembly reference? System configuration has been added. What are we missing? Collections generic is there. Okay. So I want to, first of all, let us see. I want to read the UAT settings, right? Copy and paste it and cast it as a name value collection. Name value collection has to be counted first. So, and this will be called as UAT settings. And this will have to be changed to UAT. So if there is no key value pair, the if block will be executed. Okay. UAT settings are not defined. If there is a key value pair, the for loop will run those number times as a number of keys. Simple. Okay, the only thing is that the name value collection namespace has to be defined, and that you can get it. Name value collection in namespace, right? In C sharp. System dot collection the specialized. Copy this. I already know it, but if you do not know how do you find out, that is what I'm trying to say. Name value collection return type is, so you're casting it with the as keyword. Name value collection and represent the collection of associated string keys and string values that can be accessed either with the key or with the index. Okay, so I'm getting, so this is kept to a variable UAT settings, and it has the UAT settings as a method. So if the key value pair key is 0, it doesn't have any keys. UAT settings are not defined. Simple. And it has a lot of properties and methods. You see, can all piece properties we are using, and we'll get the value of the keys by using the UAT settings, and the key will come, and this will get you the value of the key. You can get the count of the number of keys. So you can just use the keys uh, property directly also. So I want to get all the keys at one time, so you get all the keys at one time. So it will come up with the key. So how many times the for each loop will run? The UAT setting contains how many keys? It contains 3 keys. So this for each loop will run 3 times. Each time it will give you the value of the key. So let's run this. So getting the key, you can see that URL is equal to this, the key and the value, key and the value, key and the value. See, in the similar fashion, you can get the, for this section, you want to get the value, system settings. So you do have to do the same thing. You have to just which has get section method. So this is to get the key value pairs in the UAT setting section of app.config file. In the simpler fashion, I can just copy this particular part, paste it down. I'll call this as system settings. So I'm going to get this section called as system. as name value, system settings, and this will be if the number of keys are equal to 0. You can write down that system settings are not defined, else you get the values from the keys defined in this particular system settings as a name collection, all keys. So this will give you the system settings, value pairs. So let's run this. System setting URL, username, password. And similarly, you can get the values of the OR section also. OR, and this will be get from the OR section. Count is equal to 0. OR settings are not defined. Otherwise, read the keys and its value. You can run this. Okay, you get the name and age from the OR section. So this is another approach, and you can have other approaches also. You can see that. Third approach is that let's move to some tough stuff. Here we are going to create a section inside the group. Section inside a group. Configure sections now. Inside a group, the configuration section is defined. Okay. Post settings for a block group. Product settings. So you have to go to config example the product settings part. This is all defined out here. So you can see this approach. We actually not, if you want to have these approaches, you can implement it. But the second approach is more than enough to basically suffice our drill. You can see that. Okay, so what we need to do is, if you have understood this approach, what I should do is, I'll create a new project. Hybrid framework. It already has. Okay, so add hybrid framework original, and inside this I would like to add a new item. Class, and I'll call this class as, okay, let's define the class separately. I'll give the name to it. This will be the utils class first. Let me set up the procedure. Uh, I call this as com dot originals dot hybrid framework dot utils. Right. This will be utility section. Fine. So this will be calling, I'll call the class as keywords class, public class as keywords. So all the classes for the utils are defined it out here. So there will be a keyword class like this. There will be one more class as the public class. I'll call this as extent manager. So this particular class will have what? You should understand it. This class will have the keywords based functions and application specific functions with application independent function. This is what this class will have. This will be the extent manager class will implement the extent report for reporting purpose. Okay, I will show you for one particular business scenario and you can utilize for any other scenarios. We'll implement the extend report framework for reporting purpose. We'll have the facility to use same objects in all test cases for reporting. You have to use the same object of the extend report class to be utilized in all test cases. If you have separate objects, consolidation report will not come up. So if you want to have a consolidated report, you have to have the same object of the extend report class to be utilized in all test cases. Test cases means in the test annotation of n unit framework. We will define this class separately. This is the namespace first. I need to have Okay, so I'll copy this. So I will like to have in name this namespace these two class files. Copy it. In the same project, I will like to have new item class file only. I'll call this as com.hybrid.test cases. But this should be a utilizing the NUnit class file test fixture and call this as test cases. The name is has become too big. Public class com. Original test case and all. What it is coming as. Utilities.cs. Did I create it out here? Oh, I'm sorry. Delete this. I should have created out here. Add item. New item. It's a test case based. So I'll call this as sendmail or testcase.cs. Is better. There, this is where I can use NUnit framework has to be added. You have to go to even if the extension has been added, manage the extensions out here. Still, it comes. Templates have come. Still the problem has not gone. So what you need to do is that this has NUnit references as manage NuGet packages. Installed one as this NUnit 3 test adapter. So you have to import, do the same thing with your this original manage NuGet package. Selenium also has to be added. Let's add that one by one. Selenium.chrome. What version of 78 version? So I can go out and load the 78 version. This is 78 only. IE, if you want to work with IE, this Windows 32 is better. And then your Gecko. And then you have an unit. These two only have to be added. An unit 3 test adapter. If you want to have an unit console runner, this will console runner for the unit test indeed, without any extensions. The console runner for the unit 3 test with selected extension. You can. This is 2 series of an unit with this symbol. So if you want the console and the console runner without any extension with selected extensions. So I will only use these two. More than enough. Over, I think your red render lines have gone. Okay. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll come have some water. Okay, I will define this namespace as, I'll change the namespace out here. I'll define this namespace as test cases. Okay, and the third part will be your, I'll create and add one more class file, which will be not a unit class file, simple console class, right? I'll call this as config.cs. It has become add new item, will not be a unit class file. This will be simple class file. Make this as a public class first. And make this as a different namespace. This will be dot config. And then we'll see we will be able to use it or not. We'll see that later on. Now first the test cases. Test cases I've already defined in the hybrid. I will just pick it up. This is a send mail test case, right? With the usage of the data source. I'll have to copy the whole thing. Just go to the test case and I'll call this as send mail test case. And all this can be used. And you have to use obviously the packages for your Selenium. I'll just copy this, and threading package also system.threading. Just to copy this part. So this is specifically your send mail test case. Save it. I'll just okay. Now what I need to show you is that you know how to do configuration. The configurations I will do it separately. What I need to do is convert this to a keyword driven framework first. Now the keyword driven framework has to be converted with a specific approach. And the approach is something like I will have the keywords. Mm, Okay, let me get the keywords first. It's defined somewhere. Yeah, I'll copy it and I'll save it to your make this as a startup project first and also paste this. These are the keywords that I will use. Now these keywords will be given by the company in which you will work. For example, this is how the keywords have been defined in the keyword sheet. This is a text field for a username. I'll use this particular keyword. If it's a text field for a password, this is the keyword. And nomenclature of the keyword is dependent on the fact that what you are doing and what is the field name. Text field, verify the field. If you want to verify the label, this is the keyword. This is for assertion. Button, if the button is part of the form tag, this is the keyword. If the button is not part of the form tag, this is the keyword. If the button, you to verify the label in the button, this is the keyword. If you have a static text, this is the keyword. Now remember, this is my keywords. Your company will decide to give what keywords you need to use. Close the browser, this is the keyword. You want to list, you work with the list by the select tag, this is the keyword. If a drop down is not created by the select tag, this is the keyword. Verify the data in the list, this is the keyword. Verify the list items, radio button, this is the keyword. Radio button, verify the label of it, this is the keyword. Checkbox, this is the keyword. Unchecking the checkbox, this is the keyword. And then verify if checkbox is selected is the keyword. Verify switch to frame by index, this is the keyword. Switch to the frame by the name or the ID, this is the keyword. Frame to be by the text field present in the frame. You have to switch to a text field present in the inside frame. Okay, to get out of the frame, this is the keyword. Implicit weight is this is the keyword. Explicit weight, this is the keyword. Verify the title of the page, this is the keyword. If a particular element is existing, this is the keyword. Element can be anything. Your username is an element, password is an element, go button is an element. You want to synchronize with the page load timeout, synchronize the keyword. Assert by assert value by the assert by verify by the attribute value. The attribute is present in the HTML script of the element. Assert by the assert title, you can use this. Assert by the text, you can use this. Okay. So these keywords will be used and these keywords will be created to do a function. And let's look at one step at a time. I will remove this clean cut code. Opening browser, maximize and go to the URL. So these two will be part of navigation will be a different keyword. For navigation, there is a different keyword. Open browser. Okay, I can implement this. There is a page load timeout also for page load timeout. Synchronize. By default, it takes infinity amount of time. Selenium based for infinite amount of time to open up the web page. If you give the timeout for page loading and the page does not load in that particular timeout specified, it will give you a timeout exception. So anyway, we'll define the keywords first of all. So let's go out here. And the keywords will be defined where? The keywords will be defined in utility section. So there's a class called keywords. I will define it out here. Here also I have to use the Selenium packages. One minute. Lakshmi, you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, Kaushik, I'm able to hear you.
Your mother has got hurt, so I have to take her to the hospital.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll have is that this thing, no, if you guys are free tomorrow evening after office, let me know. I'll take it out.
Okay.
It is just creating the keywords and the keywords are already out here. Creating the keyword and using the locators to read it from the centralized location from the app setting file, app config file. That will be solving the matter. And exchange report is made. So if you are available tomorrow, let me know. I will put up when you are available, guys, because I am seeing only you and Varsha. Varsha, when you available? Varsha, are you there? Okay, Lakshmi, when you are available?
Actually, daily I'll reach by 10:30 only, Kaushik. Night.
Okay. And when do you go?
Morning 7:30 I start.
7:30.
Yeah, morning.
Okay. So if when you reach, would you be able to take class? Because I will be able to take.
10:30?
Yeah.
I'm good, but others have to join me.
Nobody will join. No, 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 it, Varsha. Sorry, Lakshmi. I know it. Varsha, I do not know because she's not responding. Until she responds, how will I say? So
Okay,
anyways,
I'll call. Mhm.
yeah, just put it in the in the group, okay?
Okay.
Just put it in the group 10:30 tomorrow, and
Okay.
we'll finish this matter by this week only.
Okay, Kaushik.
All the components of the framework has been developed. Now we are basically putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. I'll go. She has got hurt. No.
Yeah, take care, Kaushik. Take care.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thanks.